Well, good morning. My name is Joanne Lockwood, and I am the founder of True Inclusion. And it's an absolute honour to be joined today by Esi Hardy. And she is the founder of Celebrating Disability, is that right?
That's
and
right, yeah.
You're joining us at True Inclusion on Tuesday, which is absolutely amazing. So tell us about what made you want to get involved.
So True Inclusion is something that I'm really interested in. So my business is all about being inclusive of disabled people in the workplace, so both as customers and also as consumers. So wherever I can promote and talk about how to be inclusive of disabled people is something that I want to be involved in.
Fabulous. I mean, we had a chat before we went live here about subtitling on these videos, and I'm relying on YouTube, which is not very efficient. And you recommended this website to me, and I know I'm a D&I practitioner myself. I know how important it is to think about everybody's accessibility to whatever we're trying to do, and even I'm mindful about it, and I don't always get it right. So I understand sometimes why it's not easy for other people to think about it. Is that what you find?
I mean, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's I have to say, I will hold my hand up. I don't all the time practice what I preach. And because there are so many impairment groups with different accessibility needs, sometimes it's quite hard for people to be able to be touching every base, but I think a willingness to try and shows your customers or your employees that you're heading in the right direction, and then they're more likely to stay with you to help you on that journey than if you're just showing them that you don't care at all.
Yeah. We also had a chat about the venue, didn't we? Because that's when you're as a function organizer, it's incumbent on me to make sure I'm thinking about accessibility needs for everybody else. And we had a chat the other day, which I'm disappointed actually you preempted me to have the chat and you asked me the question. I should have come to you because I knew you had a requirement. And I've done a walk around the building. I've given my able-bodied view of the world onto it. But we had a chat about the dimensions of your wheelchair, the size of the lift. I went there and went, actually, plan A is not going to be great for you. So what can we do? So I actually sat there with security and walked through it. And I said, I need to make sure that you've got people available to make sure this experience is great for my delegates. Mm-hmm. So I found myself practicing what I preach in a way, because it's no point putting on an inclusion and diversity conference or unconference to then exclude people in the very venue you're trying to host it, is there?
Absolutely. And I think that's great. I think when disabled people turn up, if disabled people were to turn up, or people with any access requirement, because I mean, I think these things like lifts, they're helpful for people, everybody. So you might not have to be a wheelchair user to need to use a lift. Or indeed, you might be a family member or a relative or a friend of somebody who is a wheelchair user. So to be able to see that the host of an event, an conference, is doing their best to make it as inclusive and valuing those delegates as possible is really, really important. So if there are bits that they can't access, then they know that they can talk to somebody about it. That person will listen and try their hardest to do something.
I think one thing you taught me was that I shouldn't have to call it care for you or have to manage you.
Yeah.
That you should be able to live your life and act independently. So if you want to come and go from the room whenever you wish, you shouldn't have to put your hand up like a schoolgirl and say, "Excuse me, miss, can I leave the room?" Absolutely. You should be able to come and go as you please, as any other person in that room would.
Yeah, and that's the difference between accessibility and inclusion. Accessibility, putting in that door that can be opened by someone else, and putting in that lift that could be managed if somebody lifts your wheelchair. But inclusion is making sure that the person can do it themselves on their own, in their own time as they would like to. So that there's no need to ask for help in any of the way unless that's what the person wants, and that they can get to every single part of that venue or that event or wherever they are under their own steam.
In a way, I suppose I'm slightly disappointed that the venue we're using is not truly and fully inclusive. It's accessible, and I think that's one of the things you've got to probably talk about, that difference. It is important for people to understand the difference, isn't it?
It is absolutely, I think it's really, really important.
Yeah.
People say, I mean, one of the things that people say to me all the time is, oh, well, we've got a ramp. Disabled people still aren't coming in our building. And I say, well, actually, what happens to that disabled person when they use your ramp and they get in the building? Are you still ignoring them? Are you still expecting them to wait, wait for ages until the only person that knows how to support them is available? Or are all your staff trained to value and welcome disabled people so that they feel like they want to be in your venue? And that's a different, the feeling that people have. I think you have a really good line that I've heard you say quite a few times. Diversity is going to the party and inclusion is being invited to dance. It's all very well getting in the room, but what happens when you're there? If you don't feel that you're welcome, then there's no point in being there in the first place.
Yeah, I can't claim that quote. That's Verna Mayer. It's a very ubiquitous D&I statement. So yeah, I can't own that one, but yeah, it is very.
So I'll give you the credits.
Yeah, it's very illustrative of the thing, and it is, and it's important to remember. I mean, I've travelled with you on the bus. I've been to restaurants with you, and obviously I don't walk in your shoes, but I've seen your shoes, and I've seen where your shoes walk. So the closest I can come to understanding what you go through is spending time with you. And I've had my eyes opened to the everyday challenges of the medical model of disability not being supported by adaptation and the social model. And I'm quite an evangelist about, wow. And I never sit in a reserved space on a tube anymore or a bus. If it's got the little thing on the back that says safe for someone less able. I look at people with a Saturn thinking, you look okay. It's a bit like disabled parking. I've completely changed my attitude to accessibility and taking personal responsibility to not disadvantage somebody now.
Well, that's good. I mean, and that's what it's about. I mean, yeah. I think we have to remember also, I completely agree with what you're saying, but being inclusive of disabled people is not putting those disabled people before your other customers, but making equal representation of your customers. So, for example, on the buses, for example, they put down the ramp, the bus driver will put down the ramp, but then everybody else will jump out of the way. And it's like, you can use the ramp too. It's not just for me, but I need it as well. Don't block the ramp, but please feel free to go ahead. You don't need to jump out the way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. It's about being aware of other people's access requirements, whether they look disabled or not. So somebody might have a hidden disability, but they might need to use the accessible loo because they have Crohn's disease, for example, because they can't wait. Or they can't stand up for very long. That's why they need the priority seat. So it's about understanding difference and celebrating that difference and not judging it on what you can see alone.
Yeah, it's the hidden side. It's looking at someone saying, you don't look very disabled. Well, how does someone look very disabled? What's your definition of very disabled?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I went to the cinema once with my friends and I walked and I held her arm and I asked for an adult ticket and a companion ticket. And they said, oh, well, you don't look, companions and disabled people look very different to you. I said, well, what are they meant to look like? And he said, well, usually the disabled person is sitting in a wheelchair and the companion's pushing them. And my friend just said, would you like me to push her over and see how hard it is for her to get up? And they gave us the ticket, but it's this perception of what disability is and what it's like that sometimes is the biggest barrier.
One thing, when we went for that meal, one thing I found really surprising was that the set bargain meal, the sort of like the $12.95 for 3 courses, didn't actually include any food that you were able to cut up or eat yourself without someone helping you. Yeah. And when you said, well, actually, could I have that dish, which I can eat without someone cutting me up like a child? And they went, oh, no, we can't mix and match the menu. And he said, well, I don't mind paying extra, but it's not fair. And just the kind of blank look on this the serving person's face. And I thought, this is so easy to solve. They just say, no problem, manager's discretion, discount £2.50, build your own menu, don't they?
But I think that's a really good example. But I think what also followed on after that is a really good example. I mean, she'd obviously never been across that situation before. She down to the way that the company trained her, but as a result, they were really, really helpful and really.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they recovered well, didn't they?
I went back to the restaurant the other day with another friend for lunch.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was dinner, yeah, because we were having cocktails. But so I ordered the same starter, so it was halloumi skewers, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And she presented it to me in the way that was accessible for me. So she remembered me from last time and had it, you know, so I didn't need to say, oh, can you cut it up like this and can you do that? She'd remembered and held it in and said, okay, you can have this and this can be on your menu because I know it's inclusive for you. And then she actually came up and said that to me and then presented it to me in a way that was accessible without the conversation. And
that's brilliant.
Sometimes that's as important as knowing it in the first place. It's nobody knows everything to begin with, but as soon as you learn, being able to use that knowledge and add to that knowledge as well.
Let's hope she shared it with her colleagues and the process. We can hope, can't we?
I mean, I have to say that chain of restaurants is quite an inclusive chain.
Yeah.
And I have been noticing more and more recently in restaurants that when I ask for my food to be cut up in bite-sized pieces so I can pick them up with a fork, that it's no longer that much of an issue. And so I think there is some background training going on about, okay, disabled people, you know, some people might need extra support and it might come in different ways, but actually being open to that support is the most important thing, because you can't possibly know everybody's access requirements because, you know, your brain's not a computer and you don't know everybody in the world. But the whole point of it is being adaptable and agile to people's needs as they come up.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's, I say, and I think you say, it's about having the plan B, isn't it? It's having, if something doesn't work, how can we make it the best we can make it without saying can't? There's always a way, isn't there? There's always somehow someone can make you happy or happier than not happy, and that's really the outcome, isn't it?
I think that's it. And actually using, you know, asking the person, so owning up to it and saying, actually, I'm not quite sure what to do here. Do you have any suggestions? You know, the person might not always know the answer, but they also might. I always say, you know, to say, as disabled people, we face barriers on a daily basis. I have about 10 barriers before I walk out the front door in the morning, and then another 20 barriers before I get to where I'm going. So I am really good at problem solving.
Yeah.
So it present me with the issue, and I might come up with a solution.
Yeah, you know how your body works. You know your capability. You know how you can adapt, don't you?
Exactly. So the onus doesn't always have to be on the individual to know everything straight away. It's just flexibility and the willingness that's important.
Brilliant. So what was your particular point of the track? I mean, did you have a title of what you were really going to focus on?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. So I don't have a title, but essentially I want to kind of look at or kind of think about, you know, is it acceptable to not be inclusive? So is it a good enough excuse to do one thing but not do the other thing? How far should inclusion in business be going? So for example, for the captions, for example, is it acceptable that we don't have captions on every video because we don't have the time to put them on there? If we don't have the time, should we be putting them on there? And so I would like to kind of open that up for debate, because I don't know the answer, so I'd love to know what other people think.
Yeah.
And as a small business owner myself, I don't have e-bills of time and money to spend on making things inclusive. So actually, you know, where do we sit in that? And what is
I think things like captioning, it's and without sounding like a privileged able person, it's actually quite hard if you're not experienced on captioning or video editing to record on your phone, caption it, upload it to Facebook, upload to YouTube, or upload to Instagram, and get it right, or LinkedIn. So you've got to go through several steps, and people just aren't educated on the why.
Yeah.
But there's also another side to that, is I would say most people watch videos on LinkedIn and certain platforms with the volume off anyway. They're on a train. So people are losing all these millions of hours of videos they're uploading by not captioning, because people don't, they want to read it.
There's I mean, I completely agree with that. But adding to that, where is the does the responsibility lie with the individual uploading the video, or
Yeah, I
does
think so.
the responsibility lie with the platform that you're uploading it to? So, should, for example, LinkedIn be providing an easy solution for people to upload their videos and put captions on them?
I think they should. There should be a tick box for captioning, or a third-party API. Do you want to choose this website, this website, this website?
Well,
And then
exactly.
they hand it off for 10 cents a minute, whatever you said it was.
Exactly. So I think the question is about, you know, where how much of responsibility do the businesses have to influence, and how should they be influencing others in order to do the right thing when it comes to inclusion?
Okay, so that's the challenge to the group. Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. Which I think that's fantastic. I think I'm definitely want to sit in on that one. So yeah, I'm really
Brilliant.
pleased.
I'll look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, yeah. So is there anything else you want to say? I think we're probably coming to the end of our 20 minutes. So yeah, do you want to?
I don't think so. Just that I'm really looking forward to the event.
Yeah.
And I will be coming up. I'll tell you about, you know, how I manage in the lift and things like that. If you feel a crash, it's probably me.
You could do a visit report. Yeah.
Yeah, I have been there a couple of times before.
I know.
Crashed around, so there's little mark. Essie was here.
Yeah.
I have to leave them wherever I go. But no, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there.
Fantastic. So how do people they can connect with you on LinkedIn?
So they can connect with me on LinkedIn via Esi Hardy, so ESIHARDY, or they can go to my website, which is CelebratingDisability.co.uk, and have a look around, and my contact details are on there.
Brilliant. I'll put the links in the comments below, so please go and check them out. And I look forward to seeing you Tuesday.
Excellent. I look forward to it too. Thanks, Joe.
Safe travel, and I hope you don't get too frustrated by public transport.
Oh, well, luckily it's opposite the station, so
yes.
I won't even get lost, so that's quite a bonus. I'll definitely be on time.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday.
Yes, you too. Bye.
Bye.